Well, I have another dead chainsaw. So I don't know anything about this chainsaw other than what you can see, and it feels like it's got good compression. That's a good sign. The pull cord doesn't go very far, and it doesn't pull back in. It's really dirty. It's got all the instructions on how to start, which will be nice. It's got a on-off switch, I assume. It's hard to see, it is so dirty. As I'm inspecting this, looking it all over, it's got a crack in the casing right here. Shouldn't really affect it. Well, that's a problem. This is the carburetor intake. It should have a filter right here. I can actually see into the carburetor. That's a really bad sign. That means as filthy as all this is, it's been sucking in filth. So I'm going to start by trying to clean up as much of this as I can so that I can see what I'm doing, and then I'll start tearing it apart. When it comes to cleaning all this off, most of it comes off fairly easily. I should be able to just wipe it down. I don't want to use any harsh chemicals because I don't want to lose any of this text. Harsh chemicals a lot of times will take all the ink off, especially as old as these are. Well, I don't want to lose any of that. So one of the things that's nice about these, with the fuels that they use, that residue from the oils in the fuel keeps things nice and shiny new, and just get a deposit on everything, and that deposit is pretty easy to get off. I'm going to start by taking the chain and bar off on this side, and I'll probably need to get this handle out of the way as well. I've never had one of these apart before. I have no idea what I'm getting myself into. I've had these on other models fly apart when you open them. This is very nicely done. It's well contained. It's got some good clips, parts on it. I should be able to just clean this up and get it to work. This carburetor is absolutely filthy, horrible. I really want to take it apart and clean it all up and put it back in. I hate to spend all that extra time if it's just garbage, if the cylinder is all scarred, but it does feel like it's got good compression. I want to get a lot of this WD-40 lubricant down in, let it really soak in all around the spring and all the mechanisms in there. You have to be careful when you do this. If they're not very well secured, the springs come flying out at you. Well, at this point, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time getting this perfect. I want to make sure this is even rebuildable, if it's even worth messing with. So now that I have this working well enough to try it out, I'll put a couple screws back in it, and I'm just going to try my best to see if this will start as is. Might get lucky, and then I won't have to take it completely apart. Just for curiosity, I figured I'd dump out any fuel. The fuel mixture is so old that it's just oil now. All the gasoline has evaporated out of it. So I need to get that out and put in some fresh fuel. pretty amazing. It just looks like somebody dumped some fresh oil in the fuel. I guess that's possible too. I don't want to put too much fuel in here because I might just be ending up dumping it right back out again. I go full choke. It does have some adjustments for the carburetor. It's good to see. Clean this up so I can see which way is on and which way is off. That way is on. Nothing. It does sound good. I'm not hearing any popping though. I need to clean this out as much as I can. Make sure that choke is closed. And then I'm going to pour a little fuel in directly and see if I can get it to fire up. I want to be able to control how much fuel I put in there. Now, if I just dump it out of this gas can, I could end up pouring way too much in. That definitely would have been too much. So by having it in a little container like this, I have a lot more control. Yeah, I did not expect that. It just started right up. So we know it's got good compression. We know it's got spark. Obviously it runs. It's got a lot of power. It's got very good compression. So yeah, it's worth saving. I think the only way you're going to be able to save it though is to take it all apart and clean out the carburetor. It doesn't want to idle. It doesn't want to keep going. I put a lot of fuel in it that last time so that I could try to get it to suck a lot of pressure onto the line and onto the tank. Flooded it out at first, but once it started up, ran pretty good, but it won't continue. So, let's see if we can figure out how to take this carburetor all apart and clean it all up. Well, it appears that I'm going to have to take this case apart. When you don't have instructions, and you've never taken one apart before, you just gotta kind of wing it. It appears it has a metal sleeve that runs through the middle of this. I'll use brute strength. I could have easily broken that, getting pissed off at it. What I'm trying to do is the trigger mechanism for the throttle. Trying to release it and then make sure that I have the orientation memorized. And then it looks like I have the on off. There we go. All right. So now the carburetor is fully exposed. Now if I disconnect this fuel line, it should have fuel come out of it. If it doesn't, then it's plugged. Sometimes these fuel lines get really brittle with age. This one doesn't appear to be. Completely plugged up. Alright. It's going to be gross, but I'm going in. Going to take one for the team. That works. think the last chainsaw I did had a similar carburetor to this one, and I could not find a kit to rebuild it. I was able to clean it up and make it work. And I want to try my best not to damage these gaskets. Carbon choke cleaner. And I'm almost out, so I've got some brake cleaner here too. Look at that mess. This is probably one of the most common areas to have problems, and that's the needle and seat for allowing the fuel to come in. And if that needle sticks with old fuel, and this gets all gunked up with old fuel, then that's where things stop working. This is really clean. So it's exciting to see it looking this well. This diaphragm also looks really good too. So I don't think I'm going to need to get a kit for this. I just want to make sure that allows fuel to come in, that this isn't all plugged up. It is plugged solid, so I'm going to have to clean that out. Well, I was hoping I could get some fuel to break that loose, but that didn't work. Wow, that had some really sticky, gunky stuff in there. This is another diaphragm that typically goes bad. Definitely seeing a lot of gunk in here. Lots of gunk in here. Brake cleaner is pretty harsh. I don't always like using that, especially on some of these diaphragms. So I want to get some fuel on that right away so it'll lubricate it. Looks really clean now. I'm not exactly sure how these pads work. They're like fuel pads. They are really grimy and sticky. So I want to clean those up. Well, now that I've got the carburetor really clean, I'm trying to keep a clean workspace here. Typically, this is the point where I would really clean this all up. But I'm hesitant to do that because of the age, and there are so many things. None of it feels brittle, but I just don't want to break anything. I don't want to remove the tanks, end up breaking a fitting or something, because then it's toast. All this work would be just for nothing. So I'm going to daintily work around all this, clean out the really bad buildup. There's a lot of this that's just really baked on. I just don't want to scrape it off. So this is as clean as I really want to really get into it. So at this point, I'm basically throwing in the towel, figuring if I can make this thing run like it is, great. If it tries to run and it just doesn't want to run, it's going to need a carburetor kit. So then it's a matter of having to research and see if you can find a kit for it. I just realized something. A major mistake. I didn't hook up the fuel line. Let's hope I can hook that up without having to take the carburetor back off. Yeah, that was easy. It's back together enough. I don't need to put the chain on yet. Lubricating that rope seemed to work great. Got it turned on. I've got it choked. I've got a little bit of fuel in here. I'm hoping I can just pull that fuel through with the choke. So we'll try that. If it just isn't going to sputter, then I'll prime it. Very good sign. So while we're on the subject of starting an old chainsaw, never fire it up and just start going. Just revving. You gotta let it work and slowly build up so that you can lubricate everything, especially when it's been sitting this long. But in any good saw or an old saw, warm it up a little bit first before you just really start to rev it up. So at least at this point I know I don't have to rebuild this carburetor. I don't need to find a carburetor kit. I'm pretty comfortable. I'm going to be able to make adjustments and get this dialed in and get it set so that it'll idle, and I get a good fuel mixture. I've got a high and a low fuel mixture screw that I can just keep playing with until I get this dialed in. I don't even need to set any of the screws. It's idling well. It's really cold in my shop right now. I'm probably low 60s, high 50s. So it's going to take a little bit of time to warm it up, but it's running fantastic. I mean, it appears to have excellent compression. It's got a good throaty pop. So I'll just put it all back together, get that chain on, get it all adjusted. This can go back to its owner. I want to make sure I've got my teeth going in the right direction. I'll tighten it up. Feels good. So, saved another one from the trash heap. It's pretty exciting. If you like what I'm doing, please give me a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. Let people know what I'm doing if you think they even care. Appreciate you watching. Goodbye for now.